Our revolution is a revolution of communists. Nobody shed his blood here, fighting against the tyranny, fighting against imperialists, against bandits and bankers in order to establish the right of somebody to make 50 pesos selling hot dogs and fried eggs.
The president announced today will make it a lot easier for Americans to travel to Cuba. You still can't go as a tourist, so that is still absolutely prohibited under U.S. law. But what this does is allows you to travel to Cuba under these 12 categories. There are educational visas, religious, humanitarian, different ways that you can get down there. And they've made that process a lot easier. Before, if you wanted to go under one of these licenses, you had to apply to the Office of Foreign Asset Controls at the Department of Treasury. You had to find an airline and contact them directly, a charter airline that could take you down there. But now what this opens the door to is the possibility that Americans will be able to go online, find a flight to Havana, certify that they fit into one of those categories, and boom, they're set. The changes were announced today by the Treasury and Commerce Departments, and they'll go into effect on Friday. So that means a lot of this stuff you can start doing immediately. Things like using your credit card and debit cards in Cuba, things like taking these more effect immediately. The problem is going to be in kind of implementing them. So U.S. banks are going to have to set up with their Cuban counterparts how to do the airlines are going to have to take their time and go through these new regulations and figure out how to do that. But as of Friday, that's it. It's a whole new ball game, and things are going to get a lot easier to get down there. You know, a lot of the interest has...
Well, it seems like the United States is making the decisions over Cuba, like they have the power to change what Cuba is going to allow to do. Makes sense that who's running the show? Who's running the show?
And how quickly can I get down there, and how fast can I get to Havana? The idea that American businesses will now be able to sell directly to Cuban private businesses. There's this burgeoning...
That's bullcrap. That's bullcrap, because everything, every business that you're going to do in Cuba has to go through the government. So you don't do business directly with the people. That's what the United States is saying. But the Cuban government doesn't allow that. So I don't understand, unless, like I say, the one that is running the show is the Americans, and they always had the power to do whatever the hell they want in Cuba. To me, it makes no sense, because Cuba has a way of running the show. Like if an investor, a foreign investor, wants to go to Cuba to invest money there, to do any kind of transaction, they have to go through the government, and the government stays with a big percentage of the gains, like be 95%.
Private class down there in Cuba, and these changes will allow American businesses to sell tools, equipment.
I haven't heard the Cuban government saying that the investors can do direct business with the people. It's only coming from the United States, but the Cuban government hasn't made any announcement of any of these things. You know, they haven't said anything about what they're going to allow any investors to do in Cuba. They haven't said anything.
The resources directly to those Cuban businesses. That's something that they're sorely lacking down there, and there's a big question as to how...
Because the Cuban government does not allow that.
Much they can afford to import, but this allows for more microfinancing from American businesses to help them get started. It allows for them to...
Yeah, if it was like that, it would be great. It would be great that there would be a direct sell, but I don't believe that until I see it. The Cuban government has not announced none of that.
Donate directly to them.
The donations go through the Cuban government, and what they do with donations, they sell it on the stores.
It opens up a lot of avenues for American businesses to tap into what is a very mysterious, very unknown Cuban.